Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to your United Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 26. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the season simulation, and we kind of had a little bit of a lower season than we expected in terms of record, but for some reason, I feel a little bit more confident going into the playoffs with a bit more of a mid record than a very dominant record. Obviously, last year and the year before, we won the President's Trophy and we ended up getting knocked out in the conference finals and the second round. This year, we had a 44, 32, and 6 record, so nothing crazy. But I do feel like for some reason our team could end up doing better in the postseason this year because we had such a mid-season. So hopefully that's the case because we are going to be having a rematch with the Philadelphia Flyers. Last year they knocked us out in the second round after a quadruple overtime game. So we definitely have a little bit of a rivalry. Surprisingly, they didn't have an insane season either though, 42, 32, and 8. So both these teams, I think whoever comes out of the series could go on a really good run, and that's likely my guess at this point. But I think we should have a decent run for our team this season. Obviously, our lineup is a little bit weird, but it's nothing nothing out of the ordinary, I would say. It's just more about players out of their roles a little bit. That's the thing that I think maybe made this team simulate a little bit worse. Obviously, we had to make some quite crazy adjustments, like McElhinney and Kuda are both second-line forwards, but they're playing third-line minutes. They both have special teams time, though, on the penalty kill, if I'm not mistaken. Guys like Cutler, he's now on the power play right now because we do actually have an injury to our top defenseman other than Paco in Carter Lee, so that's a pretty big loss, but we are getting Cutler some playing time on the power play because of that. Fernandez obviously on the power play. We kind of had to manage this lineup quite a bit in order to get people playing time. The good thing is we also do have people in the AHL we could call up if some guys in the NHL aren't playing good. So Miller and Barrett could always come up and help us out with the depth a little bit. But it's been an interesting season to say the least. I'm hoping that this team can figure itself out in the playoffs because obviously we are running out of time to win ourselves a Stanley Cup. I'm hoping that this year Simic could continue to bring his game. He's been an elite goaltender for pretty much his entire career. I know a lot of people were skeptical when I drafted him, but he's already got 32 career shutouts and he's only 25 years old. And look at his career save percentage during regular season, a 917. Playoffs, he's got a 914 career save percentage. So I think he's honestly been the best goalie we've drafted so far in this mode, aside from guys like Forster maybe and all that. But I'm hoping that Simic could help deliver us a Stanley Cup this season because he's been one of the best goalies in the league. And I think that $10 million cap hit honestly is not as bad as it was when we signed it initially. So hopefully it's a good run for us. I think, like I said, the one thing I could derail us a little bit is having Carter Lee injured. But I have seen AI teams that basically they get into a playoffs and they have a really good player injured on that team, but they still go on a run and then that injured player comes back and they end up finding ways to win. So I'm hoping that's the case with us. Hopefully, since we have a stud player injured, we still go on a run and then he returns and then we end up winning the Stanley Cup or something like that, because that would be quite the season for our team. AJ Foligno is getting a big chance because of that, and so far he looks like he's going to be a solid two-way defenseman, 3 points through 7 games, so I'm excited to see what he could do in his first ever playoffs. Obviously, he doesn't have a huge potential, but it looks like he could be still a useful depth defenseman or maybe top 6 defenseman at his peak. So excited to see what we could do here. Hopefully some of the young guys like Berkowitz, Cutler, and all that kind of impact our play a little bit. And hopefully the guys that have been here for a while, like Klinga and Hromis, hopefully they do well as well. Because there's a chance that guys like Klinga might be retiring within the next few seasons. Same goes with Hromis, maybe in the next 5 years. So obviously our team is still kind of old at this point, and we want to find a way to get our team a Stanley Cup. Like Paco's even 32 years old, which is kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. Once we lose those players to retirement, at least we'll free up some cap space. But at the same time, we want to win a Stanley Cup in the series, and hopefully it starts with this round against Philadelphia. So anyways, with that said, let's get you guys' comments. You guys have to say about last episode. Then we'll show you guys again what the Flyers look like, and then we'll get into this first round matchup and see if we could beat them and if maybe we could go on a bit of a run this season. So the first and only comment is from I'm the Quiet One, who says, a tough season with the injuries, but maybe it's a good sign, like you said. Hopefully a deep playoff run. And yeah, there was a lot of injuries this season, but like I said, the Lee injury, I'm almost certain I've seen AI teams with really good players injured that still go on good runs without that injured player. So I'm really hoping that Lee injury doesn't impact us negatively. I think it could be actually maybe a blessing in disguise for us. Lee is a very good defenseman. We did just sign him to a massive extension at the start of the season as well. So obviously it's a bit of a risk, but our defensive core, even without him in it, honestly looks still good. Like, I probably could have not resigned him if I wanted to, but at the same time, I think obviously holding on to that depth is still important for this defensive core. Maybe that's why our goaltenders tend to assimilate well as well, but I'm not too sure. But I'm excited to see how we could do without Lee in the lineup. And then once Lee returns, which is not supposed to be maybe till the finals, hopefully he can come in and make an impact and get our team a Stanley Cup if we are still in the playoffs, that is. So let's hope that this team can get off to a good run here. And hopefully we don't get destroyed by the Flyers again like last year. Like last year, when we got to that quadruple overtime game, they outshot us like 40-13 or something like that throughout those overtimes. So we obviously got to be careful that they could shoot the puck a lot. But you can see this is their lineup, and I don't remember still what their lineup looked like last year fully. But obviously some guys are still there for sure, like Lundin, Michkov, Misa, Lakovic. But it isn't necessarily the craziest offensive group. Like, you have some skill on it for sure, but it's definitely a lower end offense. Maybe that's why they fell off a bit. And then from a defensive standpoint, this is why I think they're still a very big threat, is their defensive core of Boganecki, Purrington, DuPont. Those guys are insane. Even Peterson has an X factor, so we got to watch out for those four. Their top six pairing, maybe we could take advantage of that and score some goals on it, but they also do have one of the best goalies in the league that kind of rivals Simic a little bit. He's a bit older, but Ruslan Mayorov has been absolutely insane the last 3 years, actually most of his years in his career. 915 career save percentage, 23 shutouts. Playoffs, obviously, he's been an insane goaltender, a 922 career save percentage, and last year they lost in the NHL Finals, if I'm not mistaken. I think they lost in the Finals. Or did they win the Stanley Cup last year? I don't think they won the Stanley Cup, right? Yeah, they lost in the finals last year. So Mayorov has definitely been a bright spot on that team. You can see, obviously, his save percentage every year of his career in the playoffs has been insane. He's gone to the 2 finals in the last 3 seasons. So the Flyers are definitely still a threat with him in net. So we got to be careful about that. It is going to be probably a goaltending showdown. So hopefully he can find ways to score some goals on Mayorov and ruin his career playoff numbers, because that'd be kind of nice. So anyways, with that said, I think we're ready to get into this matchup. We were a strong defensive team during the season. Our offense was kind of a little bit lower end, so it would be kind of nice to see if our offense could get off to a good start here in this first round, and hopefully we continue to play good defensively too. Anyways, let's see what happens. First period of game 1 on home ice. Let's get her done, boys. And if we need to, we'll obviously make line adjustments, but for the time being, we're going to run with what we have. First period. And it's 2-1 us. Okay, that's not a bad start. Cutler scores first. I like to see that because he's playing fourth line minutes, so that's a fourth line goal. But like I said, he is getting power play time now also because of Lee's injury. We have him on the point, so hopefully Cutler could be a big difference maker this year. Last year, he didn't score any goals, I don't think, for us in the playoffs before we end up obviously having to get eliminated by the Flyers. So, or maybe he did score at least 1 goal, but I think he's off to already better start than last year. Lundin answers back for them, and then Paco scores shorthanded, so I'm kind of surprised Bob Paco continues to score shorthanded goals, because I know he's an offensive defenseman, but he's kind of surprised me here, because you don't usually see defenders score shorthanded goals, because obviously they're playing a little bit more defensive, but I'm pretty sure he had a shorthanded goal last year in the playoffs as well. Shots are 15-7 in favor of the Flyers, so we're getting drastically outplayed, but we're lucky that we've scored 2 goals on 7 shots, so Mayorov not off to a strong start for them, but Simic's off to a strong start for us. Can we continue to play some good defensive hockey and get some saves from Simic, and can we get some more insurance? Second period. Still 2-1. All right. Shots are still in their favor, 24-15. So far, it has been a bit of a goaltending showdown. Obviously, the first period wasn't great for Mayorov, but he was good in the second period for them. And so far, Simic has been locked in, as he typically is. Like I said, last year in that second round against the Flyers, it was very tight, a lot of the games. That quadruple overtime game was insane. They had drastically outplayed us in it, but they only won by 1 goal. So, obviously, our team has a little bit of anger towards that loss. But at the same time, they know that they could beat a team like the Flyers if they are given the opportunity to do so. So let's see what happens in the third period, see if we could get some insurance and make this game a little bit easier for us, because right now, Simic has been a huge reason why we're still leading this game. Third period underway. Can we get some insurance? I don't care who it is on a roster, but insurance would be good. Maybe even Foligno could score goals. Fernandez, power play goal. All right, we have a power play, a shorthanded, and a regular strength goal. I like to see that. It's good that we're getting goals from different types of special teams and all that, but that's a big goal at this point. Looks like we're starting to get the shots a little bit more close to near the end of this game, as we are going to win by a final score of 3-1 as we keep up our strong defensive play. And so far, Simic locked in 38 saves in game 1. He has been an absolutely awesome goaltender. Like, I know some people might have not liked when I drafted him, how early I drafted him, how much money I paid him. But I feel like he's just been, as of the last few years, and last year's playoffs, going to that quadruple overtime game, watching the entire overtime, I feel like that was one of the best goaltending performances I've seen in this game. So I might have a little bit of bias because I drafted him so early, but I think he's been a really fun goalie to watch now. But Cutler from Kuda, we had Paco from Klinga, obviously that was the short-handed goal, and then we had Fernandez from Nakamura and Polak, so a good start for us in the defensive end, and especially in the goaltending. And I guess technically defensively we gave up a lot of shots, but our goaltending has been fantastic, as it always has been, so that's good. Obviously, it'd be nice to score more goals than maybe 3 goals, but at the same time, if we're going to play good defensively, it's not a huge issue. Simic gets first star, Paco second star, and Cutler the third star. All right. Well, that's a good way to start it off. Obviously, no goals from some of our top guys, as Mahalik has been injured with a sprained ankle, so that's unfortunate for the kid as the injuries continue. Let me just go replace player for a second, but I think I'm going to be calling up Miller from the AHL. That's why I kept him on this team, is just for more depth, basically. And I think it would have put a winger in as a center. Yeah, Appleby, he is losing morale due to ice time, I think. Oh, he's listed as a third-line scoring forward now? What the hell is this? I didn't realize that. When did he jump up that much? I mean, I could play Henry in this spot if I want to. I was thinking of calling up Miller because Miller is obviously listed as a third-line scoring forward as well. But he's better defensively. I like his 90 defensive awareness a lot. None of these guys can really win faceoffs. Henry's technically a center, though. I don't have any other depth forwards or depth players. So, you know what? I'm going to call up Miller. I know he's probably helping out with Burnaby right now. I don't think he goes through waivers since it's the playoffs now. So, I am going to call him up, though, to help us out with the defensive side of things a little bit. Just because I think it's kind of necessary. We'll move some guys up in the AHL lineup a little bit here as well. We'll get this Emlyn guy in, I guess, sure. That's, I guess, the guy that they just randomly signed us. We'll go back to the NHL here. I don't really want to scratch Appleby, but his defensive awareness, it's an 87, but not the best shot blocking or stick checking. I'm going to keep him as a scratch, even though he's a third-line scoring forward. I just don't really see a spot where it makes sense to put him in. Like, fourth line doesn't make sense. Top 6, if there's an injury, would make sense. But Miller is an elite defensive player. He's got solid face-off stats. His defensive awareness is a 90. His shot blocking and stick checking are a little low, but he's definitely more of a better defensive option, I think, for this fourth line. And he was really good in the AHL this season. Last few years in the playoffs in the NHL, he's been somewhat good defensively too. So I think it's more important to put him in at this point than Appleby. And I don't know how long Appleby's going to be with this team. Maybe he'll replace somebody at some point in time, but he might be one of these guys that ends up being a free agent at some point. So a little bit of a defensive adjustment, I guess, technically with that injury. But at least Mahalik's not a hugely great defensive player anyways, so it's not going to impact the fourth line, I don't think, that much. Hopefully, Miller makes it a little bit stronger defensively so we could even pick up more good defensive games. But let's see what happens in Game 2 as Mahalik doesn't come back till, I think it said the 20th, so he will be back probably for Game 4, but we probably have him back in for Game 5 if there is a Game 5. Let's get to Game 2 anyways. See if we could take a 2-0 series lead before we head to Philadelphia. Hopefully, we get off to a good start in this one as well. First period. 1-0 us. Good defensive start. Another power play goal from McElhaney. Our power play wasn't actually that good during the season. And our offense wasn't that good. So that's why I'm saying that our team could flip a script here in the playoffs. We had some strong defensive results, but it looks like our offense is getting better on the power play so far in the playoffs. Maybe it's going to get better as these games go on as well, but we're not even taking a lot of shots in some of these games early on. Like, we're being outshot 15-7 again, but we have such good goaltending and defensive play that it doesn't really negatively impact us much, which is good. Obviously, we're kind of lucky to be up by a goal, But obviously, at the same time, both these goaltenders kind of keep their team in this game. And I guess even though Mayarov allowed 1 goal on 7 shots, he could still keep his team in the second. So we got to be careful about that. And it would be nice if we could get some more insurance, of course. But so far, Simic has been absolutely locked in. Anyways, let's see if we could get some more insurance in the second period so it's an easier time for us in the third. Second period. 2-0 us. Let's go. Rankin scores. All right. I like the way we've been playing. Definitely outshot them in that period. Now the shots are 26-21. Both goalies, I'd say, are still playing strong. Marov obviously had a slow start the last game, but then he was really good the rest of the game, and it seems like he's doing that in this game as well for the most part. It's just Philadelphia is not getting their offense going at all. And obviously our goaltending has been absolutely insane so far from Simic. So let's hope he has a good third period here. And let's hope our offense can maybe get one more goal just to play it safe. But let's see what happens. Third period underway. Penalty kill to start. The third, we kill it off. Nicely done. Power play for us. We don't score. Penalty kill again. And it's a long penalty kill, and they score. Michkov breaks Simic shutout streak, or not shutout streak, I guess, really. And then they score another power play goal. And now our penalty kill is falling apart as this game is tied. Damn, the Flyers are pushing hard here in this game. And power play for us late in the game, and we do not score on it. We're going to an overtime. And I would jump in, but it could be one of those games that go to 4 overtimes again. And I honestly don't know if I have the voice for it. I had to literally record right before this as well. So we had a 2-0 lead, but unfortunately the Flyers managed to get the Simic eventually in that third period. Still, he's made 37 saves, though. We have 31 shots on goal, but Mayarov definitely kept his team in it, and then his team was able to actually get 2 power play goals. So we got to be a little bit more disciplined going forward. Because, yeah, we took a lot of penalties in that third period. That is not ideal. Nakamura took a penalty early. Then we had Nakamura again taking a penalty. Then Paco took a double minor. And then Pau took a holding a stick penalty. So, a lot of penalties in that third period. Made for a little bit of a ref show. But this game is tied because we were undisciplined. So, guys, be more disciplined. We're on power play to start off overtime. Let's find a way to get another goal on Mayarov and take a 2-0 series lead. I don't really care who it is on this team. Could be the most random name ever. But let's see if we can get it done. Overtime underway. Come on, boys. Come on. I know you got it in you. Maybe Miller's got a goal in him since he just got called up from the AHL. That'd be pretty fantastic. A good little story there. Or Foligno even, since he's in the lineup for one of our best defensemen right now. Come on, boys. Oh, my goodness. This might be a double overtime scenario. It's not going to be. The Flyers end up coming back from down 2-0, and we lose 3-2 in overtime. That kind of like almost gave me PTSD of that quadruple overtime loss. We ended up getting outshot 49-39. So we only had 8 shots in overtime. I think they had like a lot more than us. But that is a tough loss on home ice because it looked like we could have easily had the 2-0 series lead. But unfortunately for us, we get undisciplined in the third period, and that's the main reason why we lost this one. The shots in overtime were literally 10-8, so actually was relatively close in that overtime, but they still outshot us by 10 shots the entire game. So not ideal on that front. We won more faceoffs, but we could not get it done. That's unfortunate. McElhaney from Pollock, Rankin from Pollock, and then, like I said, 3 unanswered goals started by Michkov, who's likely their captain, I would assume, at this point. Oh, that's a tough one that they took one of our home games. We got to make sure we take games in their arenas. Pollock picks up 2 assists, Rankin and McElhaney with 1 point each. Was there any badly minus people? No, there wasn't. Goaltending, Simic with 939. This is very close to what it was like last year in the round we played against him. Just very on defensive. Guys, look at the goaltending stats. Mirov got first star at 948. Simic got second star at 938. And then Rankin got third star. So this is definitely a goaltending showdown once again. Once again, like I said, whoever wins this series, I think is going to go on a really good run this year. So it better be us and not the Flyers. The Flyers, like I said, have been into 2 cup finals the last few years. We've never been to a cup finals. So this is going to be one that I think the series could easily go 7 games at this point. All right, well, do we need to keep our team the same? I think so. I think so. I don't think there's really much else I can do, to be honest. Because a lot of these guys would complain if I decided to move them down in the lineup or up in the lineup and stuff like that. Miller, so far in his playoffs, was a -1 in that game. That's not great. He wasn't good in the AHL game in the playoffs. I could send him back down if I want to, but I'm not going to do that until Mahalik is back. Because I don't think Appleby makes much sense to be playing on the 4th line right now. but he could play in the lineup, like I said, if there's an injury anywhere else, basically. So let's go with that. And let's hope that we can win some games in Philadelphia, because now that it's a 1-1 series, obviously we got to find a way to at least win one game in their building, or else it's going to be tough. But both goalies, really good numbers. Like, they have a 925 from Mayorov. We have a 954 from Simic. So, yeah, this is definitely maybe one of the goaltending matchups for the ages. Are these two of the best goalies in the league? I'm not too sure. They might be. But one of them is going to get a chance to maybe go on a run this year if they win the series, I think. I just believe in whoever wins the series to actually continue to play good after this round. So, anyways, let's see what happens. Game 3 in Philadelphia. Let's find a way to at least win one of their games in their building to respond to that last game. Let's find a way. First period. 3-1 us. Look, that's a fantastic offensive start. Kind of better than expected, because Mayorov, like I said, has been a really good goaltender. Kuda scores first. Rankin scores to make it 2-0. Vico made it a 2-1 game, and McElhinney restored the 2-goal advantage. So far, a little bit uncharacteristic of this entire series. We score 3 goals on 11 shots. They score 1 on 8. So both goaltenders fantastic going into this game. Maybe a little tired out from the first 2 games. Not as good in that first period, but they probably will settle in as this game goes on. But we're in a good spot so far. Just got to make sure that we keep it a multi-goal lead and that they don't get back into this game at any point. Let's see what happens. Second period. 3-3. That's exactly what I said not to do. I don't want to let them back into this game. They make it a 3-3 game. We had a 3-1 lead and we blew it. Last game we blew a 2-0 lead. They're outshooting us now, though, 28-18. So despite us having a really good first period, we sat back way too much in that second period. Didn't really generate a lot of chances. Didn't score any goals. And then Simic had to allow 2 goals in because we were getting so badly outshot. Looks like one was from a really bad angle, probably. But it's more on the defensive play in our team in front of our goaltender than it is on Simic, because I think we got badly outshot that period. But I really hope we don't blow another lead and lose this game. We got to find a way to respond here, guys. I know we were up 3-1 and now it's 3-3, but you can't look at it as a bad game so far. You got to look at it as a game that you could still win. So let's see what happens. Third period underway. Can we get that lead back? Penalty kill to start the third. It's a 4-on-3. Kill it off. Hopefully we be a little bit more disciplined going forward as they take their first lead of the night. Are you kidding me, man? Lundin makes it a 4-3 game. Come on, guys. We got to respond here. We haven't had offense since the first period. Penalty kill late in the game. Why are we taking penalties late in the game? Can we tie this one back up, please? No, we cannot, as we lose 4-3. That's not on Simic. 4 goals on 36 shots. We score 3 on 30. So we did generate some chances in that third period, but that second period lost us this game, basically. And like I said, I think we need to maybe make some line adjustments now going forward, but we got outshot 20-7 in that second period. You cannot blame Simic in that game whatsoever. That is absolutely abysmal. And that's why they scored 2 goals and got the game back tied up. Oh boy, this is not good because we got to win the next game now. Kuda from Foligno, Rankin from Ullman and Fernandez, McElhinney from Culler and Pollock, and then we forgot how to score goals. And it looks like Vico is doing a lot of work for them, which is not ideal. But, yeah, definitely a little bit of a sluggish last few games. A couple guys were -1. And then from a goaltending perspective, Simic had an 889, but he had to face 20 shots in a period. That's his worst game in a while, but I'm not putting that on him. Just, I feel like our defensive play, all of a sudden, they're just like, you know what? We can rely on Simic a lot, so we're going to just let him take a lot of shots. And that's exactly how we lost that game. All right, let's make some line adjustments here. Because now that we've lost back-to-back games, we're in a little bit of a tight spot. Roger's not done anything. The top line has actually been very, very quiet. Klinga's got no goals so far. Hromis has no points. And Green has no points. So we are going to be swapping up the top line, I think. I'm going to go Fernandez as the center. I'm going to go Nakamura back on his normal side. We're going to move Hromis down to the second line. Roger is going to go down to the third line center. McElhinney's going to play on the first line. And I think, how has Miller been defensively still? -2 through 2 games. Not great. We're going to go Henry down the middle. Miller's going to get scratched for the time being. Appleby's going to come in for 1 game just because Mahalik will be back fully for the next game. But, yeah, this is very tough, man. This is very tough early on. And then we'll make some defensive adjustments. Polak's played good so far. He's got 4 assists through 3 games. Paco's been quiet. I'm going to move Paco down to the second pairing, which is kind of heartbreaking to do, but we got to do something. And obviously Simic will stay in net. All right. Well, a little bit of drastic adjustments, but sometimes drastic adjustments are needed. We got to find a way to win the next game. We've lost both these last 2 games by only 1 goal, so we definitely could have still won them, but we blew leads in both those games, and that's more on our defensive play than it is on Simic, so we got to win this game. If we lose this game, we go down 3-1. If we win this game, we're back to square one again. Like I said, I think this series could go 7 games, so let's hope we can find a way to win here. We need to play good defensively, and once we have a lead, if we do get one, we need to find a way to make sure we hold on to it. So let's see what happens. Game 4. This is a must-win game, I would say, at this point, because I don't know if we're going to be able to pull off a 3-1 comeback. But first period, game 4. 2-0 us. Okay, that's a good start. AJ Foligno scores his first career goal. Love to see that. Kuda scores as well, so a couple unlikely candidates, but 2 goals on 6 shots. They have nothing on 10 shots, so good start for Simic. Good start for our defense. We do have a lead for the 3rd straight game, but this time we got to make sure that we don't let them get back into these games. We got to have a stronger second period because the second period's lost us the game in the last 2 games, I guess, technically, I think, right? So we got to be better in the middle of the game and not just really good at the beginning of games. So far looking good. We got to make sure, though, we have this lead still going forward. Second period. It is 5-4. What the frig is this? Oh, no, it's a 1-goal game, which is not what we want to see. But that was an explosive offensive period. Both goalies have been absolutely atrocious in this one early on. But Richardson scored for us to make it 3-0. Brickowitz scores a short-handed goal and make it 4-0. So at that point, we should have the game almost in the bag when you think about it. But they get 3 goals in the span of like a minute and 40-something seconds around. I don't even know the math. A minute 36, I think. And made it a 1-goal game. Boganecki tied it up. But finally, Klinga has arrived and gives us back the lead. So a 4-0 lead got blown. I don't understand why our teams play so bad in the second. But my God, that is an abysmal period defensively. They've scored 4 goals on 22 shots so far. So far, Simic's still been better than Mayorov because he's allowed 5 goals on 17 shots. But my God, that is not the type of second period I'd like to see. Especially considering it's been like that the last 2 games as well, kind of. So we got to be better defensively in this third. And let's get some more insurance. And let's not let them get back into this game again. Because 4 straight goals, and all of them were in a span of less than 10 minutes is insane. So let's have a strong third here, boys. Let's find a way just to win this game, and then hopefully we could take it from there onwards. So, third period underway. Hopefully we get the best of Simic in this third, and we get some more offense on our side of things. We got a power play early, but we didn't score. That's kind of unfortunate. Kind of a crazy series this one has been. All right, come on, boys. Get me some insurance. Get me some insurance. Final few minutes. Looks like a more of an offensive third period, and we lock it down 5-4. Okay, so not necessarily the best second period, but a good third period. We outshot them 32-31. We only win by 1 goal, so all these games have been very tight. Even if some of them have been a little bit higher scoring, we have been able to score more goals than we were used to, which is good. But I am glad at least we have a tie series heading into Game 5, because we're not having to come back from a 3-1 deficit. But we're lucky that Klinga stepped up at the right time, because obviously we blew that 4-0 lead, which is not ideal. But Foligno from Nakamura and Rankin, Kuda from Hiromis and Paco, Richardson from Appleby, so Appleby picking up an assist in his first game in the lineup, Perkwitz from Ullman and Polak, and the game-winning goal is Klinga from Powell and McElhaney. But those 4 unanswered goals is insane, especially considering 3 of them are in a span of a minute and, like I said, 36 seconds, I think, around. Absolutely nuts. Did we take a lot of penalties in this game? We took a lot in that second period, so that's probably how they scored some of their goals again. So we got to be a little bit more disciplined still going forward, but at least we get a win on the road. A lot of guys on 1 point. We didn't have anybody on multiple points in this game, but almost everybody on our team picked up points, except for Green, Cutler, Hernandez, Henry and Fernandez. I get those 2 confused when I combine the 2 of them, but yeah, Simic had a rough game again, but I'm not going to put that on him. That's maybe more on the defensive play in that second. We got a shot 12 to 11, so it's not that bad, I guess. But yeah, maybe it was on Simic a little bit there. Definitely more so than the game before. But all the Flyers players are 3 stars of the game, but we won the game. Michkov, Dupont, and Boganecki. But that's because we had nobody on more than 1 point, which is kind of funny. But all right, this has been definitely a strange series. But like I said, every game has been decided by 1 goal except for game 1. So it's been pretty damn close as Mahalik is back, which is good. So we'll get him back into the lineup. Because since he's been out of the lineup, our team hasn't figured out how to play defense again. I could send Miller back down if I want to. Should I send Miller back down? How's the HL team doing actually in the playoffs right now? They are up 3-1, so I think, yeah, they won the first round still regardless, which is good. I think I'm going to send Miller back down maybe, just to get him more playing time down there so he's not going to complain on the bench. But obviously, like I said, he can come back up to the NHL playoffs at any point in time. We're just going to make sure that he gets some playing time in the AHL. It's nice that waivers doesn't work in the playoffs, because that way we can kind of send people down if we want to. But I think the AHL just needs as much depth as possible, so that's why Miller will be back into that lineup. So we'll go back to this again, and there we go, perfect. Barrett is another guy that could get called up if we need more offense and stuff like that, but right now, we're going to keep running this random-ass lineup of Green, Rankin, and Fernandez down the middle instead, and this is maybe how we could have ran it during the season, but I don't know if I wanted Roger being that low in the lineup. So far, Roger is not playing like himself. He was good during the season, but his playoffs so far this year haven't been like where it was a few years ago. So we got to get the best out of Roger. He's actually listed as a first-line forward, same with Rankin. So we should probably be having Roger and Rankin being the top 2 centers and Fernandez still being a third-line center. But for right now, it doesn't matter that much, I don't think, as long as we're finding ways to win games. All right, well, we have a 2-2 series. Like I said, this series I feel like could easily go to 7. It could definitely still do that. Last year, obviously, they took us out in 6. So let's find a way to win this game on home ice and take back the series lead. Hopefully we could do it. And hopefully we play a little bit stronger defensively in front of our goalie. And hopefully we get the best version of Simic yet. And hopefully our offense continues to play good. First period, game 5. 1-0 Flyers. Not good. Not good, but at least it's a bit more of a defensive game. But this is the first time I think we've been trailing after the first period, so that's kind of surprising. Michael Misa with the goal. Shots are 13-8, so both goalies off to a solid start. But obviously we're the one trailing, so we need to make sure our offense could respond in the second. Maybe we're going to have an offensive explosion in the second period like they did a few games ago. That'd be kind of nice. But we got to make sure that we don't all of a sudden have our offense completely fall off, because obviously our offense has been kind of the thing that's been a little bit lackluster all season. So let's hopefully get a good offensive second period from our team, and hopefully we continue to play good defensively and in net. Second period. 2-0 Flyers. Oh no, our offense is really quiet. Habscheid's in the lineup for them. Wasn't he a scratch before? They might have had an injury, because I don't remember. I don't think Habscheid was in their lineup. I feel like he was a scratch. Anyway, shots are 24-22, but somehow we're down by 2 goals. So both goalies are playing good again. But unfortunately, our offense, after scoring 5 goals last game, is very, very quiet. It was quiet in the third period last game technically too. So we got to be a little bit more offensive in this third period, but we can't sacrifice our defensive play still too. We got to find a way to pull within 1, and then hopefully we can still tie it up. As if they win this game on our home ice, we got to find a way to win in Philadelphia to force a game 7. So who wants to be the guy for us to help us get back in this game in the third? Third period underway. Come on, boys. Let's get that early goal in the third for our side, and then that could help us a lot. Power play for them, and we get a shorthanded goal from Berkowitz. That's his second shorthanded goal of this round, I think. And Richardson ties the game up. All right. This is exactly what I was hoping for. It's been one of those series where you can't really hold on to a lead too long term for some of these teams, because we've had multiple leads that they've been able to come back from. And this one, they had a lead and we came back from it. So it's a 2-2 game going into overtime with the shots 36-34 in favor of us. That's a good third period. All started off with a shorthanded goal from Berkowitz. Like I said, I think he's got 2 shorthanded goals this round. And I know Paco has a shorthanded goal too. So we've been kind of a lethal penalty kill team from an offensive standpoint. But we have obviously been giving up power play goals against too. But looking interesting so far. I don't really know what to expect. It's going to be another 1-goal finish regardless. Whoever wins this game will be 1 win away from the second round. Can we get a hero here? And if so, who wants to be that guy? We were in overtime in game 2 and we lost, of course. So let's find a way to get a winner this time. And let's hope we get that version of Simic that we saw a couple years, or last year and years before this too. Third period, or not third period, overtime, I mean to say, underway. Who wants to be the hero? Oh my goodness, since Philly again? Are you kidding me? I don't understand this, man. Why do we keep losing in overtime to them? We came back, and then unfortunately they're going to win by 1 goal again. So it's going to be going to a game 6 where we're going to have to win. We outshot them 37-36. We had a good third period. Started with a shorthanded goal, but Frank Nazar's the difference maker. And unfortunately, once again, the Flyers have us on the brink of elimination going into a game 6. Berkowitz from McElhaney and Pollock. We had Richardson from Berkowitz and Kuda, so a good third period from Berkowitz, but the team could not get it done. And unfortunately, we lose another game on home ice, which is not ideal. Simic was good again in that game, but our team just could not find a way to win it, as there was only 2 shots in that overtime period too. So kind of surprised we gave up a goal early. Mayorov got first star for them. Nazar second star, Berkowitz third star. But yeah, Mayorov definitely the difference maker in that one for the Flyers. Like we said, he's a crazy good goaltender, and we've definitely had a tough time going up against him in our career so far. Rakunik's back for the AHL team. That's actually good. He's been injured for quite a while, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get him back in the lineup instead of Maltby, even though Maltby's a good defenseman. Actually, Rakunik's kind of hurt, so maybe I shouldn't do that yet because he'll get re-injured, so let's keep him out. Yeah, at least the AHL team is on to the second round. That's good, but I need the NHL team to find a way to win this game and force a game 7. Gotta find a way to force the game 7. It's been an airtight series. Like, we could have already won the series by now, but unfortunately for us, we've lost 2 overtime games. Gotta win in those clutch situations. Do we need to make any adjustments before this game? Do we need to? I think we're going to go to Rankin top line. We're going to move Roger to the second line and Fernandez to the third line center, just to change things up a little bit again. I liked how Berkowitz played last game. I've liked how Kuda's played. Nakamura's been actually pretty quiet, but I don't want to move him down because he's a first-line forward. I could move him up to the top line with Rankin and Klinga. And then McElhaney can play with Green and Hromis. That's not bad. We need somebody like Hromis to step up here, though, because Hromis has only 1 assist and no goals through 5 games. And I know people are probably still not liking that cap hit, which I'm kind of not liking it either right now with how he's playing in this playoffs. But we gotta find a way to get something going here. Let's put Klinga on as off wing. Maybe that could help him score some more goals. And then Paco's been very quiet so far, too. He does have a goal, but I am going to put Paco with Powell. And Pollock, I'm going to play with Richardson. Ullman and Foligno still. Foligno's actually been pretty solid. Looks like all of our defensemen have actually been pretty good. And then Simic, of course, has still been the better of the 2 goalies. I'm not going to put Tambellini in. Not yet. Maybe next round if we get there. But I think this loss of Lee is kind of hurting us a bit, maybe. Because there's been some games where we've not been able to hold on to the lead. If we had Lee in our lineup, maybe we'd be able to do that. But I don't really know exactly what the problem is. Maybe it's just the consistent scoring that's hard for our team. But there's been a lot of 1-goal games. Like, we could easily be up in this series right now, too. So I still think this could go to 7 games, but we got to find a way to win in Philadelphia, and that is definitely easier said than done, especially against an elite goaltenders like Mayorov is. Like, if Mayorov and that defensive core didn't exist in Philadelphia, they would not be a playoff team, I don't think. Their offensive core is very low end, but that defensive core, those 3 top defenders, very good. They have a good goaltender, similar to us in a way. So, yeah, I think still whoever wins the series is going to go on a good run, so can we find a way to force a game 7? Can we find a way to? If we do, we'd be back on home ice. So far, it's been back and forth. It was win-loss, loss-win. This one, hopefully it's loss-win, and then hopefully it's win again for us. So, can we force a game 7? Real-time sim. A little nervous to get into this one, but let's see if our team can get it done and survive another day. Hopefully, we get the best version of our team yet so far in this playoffs. Because so far this series is definitely, like I said, if we would have gone up against a different team, I feel like we maybe would have had a better chance. But Philly's just been one of those teams that always has a thorn in our side. Is they score first, Lane and DuPont. Like I said, he's one of the best defensemen in their team. They also have Purrington and Boganecki, so that's a little bit tough. They are going to be up 1-0 after one. Our offense definitely very quiet since technically that 5-4 game that we scored. Technically, last game we scored in the third period, but that was the only period we scored in the last little bit. So not liking that we're not scoring a lot so far. I still like our defensive play in some of these games, but also the fact that we've blown leads has made it a little bit questionable at times. It sucks to be trailing here early on, but there's still a lot of game left to go. We just got to find a way to get that next one. Second period underway. Can we find a way to tie this game? Can Klinga and Hromis arrive a little bit more, please? Because Klinga's got 1 goal in the series. Rankin scores. Good job. At least that ties the game. But I need Hromis to really get going here because he's been disappointing. Henry scores before Hromis, and then Boganecki ties the game up back for them. A little bit more of an offensive second period, just like a lot of these games in the series has been so far. And at the end of 2, it's going to be 2-2. Shots are 26-15 in favor of us. So far, Simic's having a little bit of a tougher time. So far, Mayorov has definitely kept his team in this game because obviously we're outshooting him by 11 right now. So we got to find ways to score on him, guys. I don't even want to say it, but take out his knees. Do whatever you have to just to find a way to get a goal. I don't really know, but get some net front presence. We got to find ways to score on him. He's the toughest goalie, I think, in the league right now that we've played against. So we got to find a way to get that third one. I don't care who it is, but let's get it done. And let's see if we can try and force a Game 7 still. Third period underway. Penalty kill to start the third. We got to be more disciplined, and we kill it off. Nicely done. But we got to be more disciplined. We just got to. Because, oh no, they took the lead. Discipline is an important piece of the series. Penalty kills. Oh my goodness. See, I said be more disciplined, and then you give them a power play goal. We're going to lose in 6 games to the Philadelphia Flyers because our team is undisciplined. Even without a physical guy like Law, we are still going to lose in 6 games to the Flyers as they beat us. We outshot them 39-28. If we did not run it to them, I think we would have had a good shot this year. If Philadelphia goes on to win the Stanley Cup, then I would say that if we won the series, we would win the Stanley Cup. That's my guess right now, but that's disappointing. So basically the last few years, we went from round 3 to round 2 to round 1. And we are running out of time, and we're going to have guys potentially dropping off soon. Hopefully we get some good growth in our bottom 6. But that's an absolute disappointing way to end this season. Absolutely disappointing. And I'm not putting on our defense or goaltending fully. I would put that more still on our offense for being inconsistent. And also, we just are way too undisciplined. 3 penalties in that third period. 3 penalties in that third period. And then, of course, we had a penalty there. Maybe the refs were more on their side. Who knows? But we had 5 penalties. They only had 1 penalty all game. So, yeah, that's definitely really tough. Very tough. And our penalty kill was very atrocious. Maybe I should have addressed it, but I didn't know what I could have done to it. Rankin from Klinga and Paco. We had Henry from Cutler and Powell. And that was it. We did have short-handed goals in that series, but I think maybe we made our penalty kill a bit too offensively minded. But, that's disappointing. Powell was a +2 in that game. Good for him. Who is Belly minus? Ullman and Foligno. Of course, the top 6 just became bad. And then goaltending. An 8.57 from Simic, but it could be still on the defense in front of him and the fact that we give them power plays all the time. And yeah, Mayorov definitely the difference maker. A 9.48 for them. Friggin' Mayorov, man. Why is he so good? Why is he so good? He's probably one of the best elite goalies we've ran into in a series so far. All right, well, let's take a look at our player stats and see how disappointing this playoffs was for us. But we are definitely going to see Philadelphia win the Stanley Cup. I could almost feel it in my bones after this game. But if we look at team stats from this round, wow, Boston, of course, won their round 2. If we look at the stats here and look at us, like we scored 2.83 goals for per game. Not very good offensively. Goals against, a little bit on the higher side of things, but that's probably because of that, obviously, that 5-goal game. We didn't play the best defensively, but the power play percentage, only 2 power play goals. It did start off good in the series, but then it fell off. 13.3%, not crazy good. Penalty kill, it says, was 87.5, which is actually one of the best. but 4 power play goals is not good. We were very undisciplined, though. That's where you could see, though. 32 times shorthanded in the first round. So that's where we need to be better at, is being better disciplined. Like, we could give up 4 power play goals, it's fine, but we got to be able to score on our own power play, and we also got to be way more disciplined. We scored 3 shorthanded goals in that round as well, though. So I think I made our penalty kill good, but maybe a bit too offensive at times. So that is an interesting round, to say the least. And let's look at our player stats now, too. But a couple of guys stepped up here. Offensively, none of the forwards really blew me away. Rankin, Kuda, and Macklin are all around 4 points. Like, we had good depth scoring for the most part. But, like, guys like Kling only having 1 goal, Nakamura having no goals is very disappointing. Hiroma's having no goals, very disappointing, and 10 penalty minutes. So, and Green had no points whatsoever. So some of our highest paid players were on the bottom of the score sheet, which is not ideal. So that might be the last also we see of Fernandez here. Remember, he's a pending UFA, so I honestly have no idea what to expect from next season, but wow. Offensive players, kind of disappointing. Defensive players, Polak, good offensive, bad defensively. Paco, a little quiet. Richardson and all that. I think we had good depth scoring on defense, let's be honest. But not having Lee there made our defense not as strong as it has been in the past. And then from a goaltending perspective, Simic had a .913 save percentage, but a 2-2-2 record because he lost 2 games in overtime. If only we didn't lose those overtime games. Maybe we should have jumped in and watched them. And maybe we could have changed the complexion. But I think Simic was still good, but a couple rough games in there too, of course. A couple games below a 900 save percentage, but very good to start. And also that 917 game was good, but defensive play, the penalty kill, being undisciplined and all that kind of hurt things a bit too. Damn. And then if we go to, like, say, Philadelphia's stats here, you can see how much of a thorn in our side Mayorov was. A 917, but you look at his stats in those games that he played against us. The first game, he was not very good. Second game, he was good. Third game was average. Fourth game, he was trash. In the last 2 games against us to close out the series, he posted basically like a 947-8 average around. And he barely allowed us to score goals. So, yeah, this guy is absolutely crazy. I wish we would have been able to draft a guy like him. He's from Ukraine. I don't know if he would have been an option to us at one point, but obviously since he's from Ukraine, we couldn't have picked him anyways. But he's probably the best goalie in the series right now, I would assume. And I think he's going to win a Stanley Cup here in a couple minutes or so. All right, well, at least our AHL team is in the playoffs, which is good. But at the same time, sucks to have our NHL team lose. All right, well, let's find out who ends up winning the Stanley Cup in the AHL and all that stuff. But let's see if any former Europe United guys end up winning the Stanley Cup. Because if Boston finds a way, Dave Antonio and Urquhart could end up having one, which would be kind of surprising if they could win one before us. But I don't know what Boston's built up that's made them better. Our AHL team has been eliminated. Carter Lee's back. We'll just go best lines because we're already eliminated. And who is going to end up winning the Stanley Cup this season? Is it going to end up being Philly like I projected? Because if it is, I'm going to be absolutely like, see, I told you, see, I knew it. I know this game way too well. If we did not lose to the Flyers, I'm almost certain our team would have went on the run. The Flyers win that Stanley Cup. They've been to 3 cups in the last 4 years, and they finally get it done. So shout out to all those guys. Mayorov, Michkov's now a Stanley Cup champion and all that. But that means no former players of ours are Stanley Cup champions. But we knew that it was going to be either the Flyers or there was going to be some former player probably winning. Belleville ends up winning the AHL, and they knocked out our AHL team, I think. So that's kind of disappointing on that front. Damn, I knew that Flyers were going to win the Stanley Cup as soon as they beat us. It was just easy to tell that. They beat the LA Kings in the finals, but technically after they beat us in 6 games, you could see that they took out Washington in 7 and the Habs in 7, and then the Kings they took out in 5. Boston was eliminated in round 2 again. So far, some of the guys that have left this team haven't gone on far in terms of playoff success. Looks like Ambul actually got to the conference finals and lost to LA. So Ambul might have had a really good playoffs. And maybe he was the player that we should have kept on to. But let's take a look at who the LA Kings were as well. Obviously, we know the Flyers, but let's take a look at their stats. Lundin had 28 points in that run. God damn. Yeah, they had really good depth scoring. But Purrington's now a Stanley Cup champion, so shout out to him. Kind of still wish we would have got a chance to draft him. Goaltending, Mayorov posted a 920 save percentage, so he only got better from our round outwards. That's insane, man. Yeah. He had some rough games in there too, but look, there was a rough game against the Kings in the finals, but look at this, a 931, a 933, 971, 938, 47, 41. Bad game there against Montreal. Looks like he actually had a tough series against Montreal aside from the shutout. But yeah, he was very good for most of the playoffs. Very good. Goddamn, man. But who was on the Kings out of curiosity, just because I don't know if there was any former players in that finals. I don't think so. Oh, yeah, there was some of these crazy guys that they were high up there in scoring during the season. Okay, yeah, I remember some of these dudes now. Because it was them in San Jose that had some of the best players in the league. None of these guys used to play for us, so that's interesting. But, yeah, Philadelphia is a Stanley Cup champion. They finally got it done. But does that mean our team would have had a better chance if we got past them? I honestly don't even know at this point. I don't even know. Let's take a look at the awards anyways. Philly wins the Stanley Cup. LA won the President's Trophy and they got to the finals and lost. LA and Philly Cup finals. Philly's been in, like I said, multiple Cup finals the last few years. I guess it's been 3 in the last 6 years, I think. Or maybe they didn't even get to the finals that one year that I thought they did. Yeah, I don't think they did. But obviously last year they got to the finals and lost. But a couple of years back, they must have got to a conference finals or something and just played a lot of game sevens. But they definitely have a lot of experience now. Zuzan wins the Art Ross for LA and the Hart. Aside from that, Holden wins the Norris for the LA Kings. So the LA Kings racked up awards. They just didn't win a Stanley Cup. Celebrini to Lady Byng for the 3rd consecutive season. Moroz wins the Calder for Philadelphia. Don't even remember what that guy was in our lineup because he didn't do a lot against us. Lundin wins the Conn Smythe for Philadelphia. Viveros wins the Vezina for LA. Lynch to Jennings for Vegas. Jonas wins the Masterton for Columbus. Utah's head coach in Faith wins the Jack Adams. Parento wins the Selke. That's kind of an interesting one because we've seen him up there in goal scoring before. Zuzan, Lindsay, and also the Richard goes to Zuzan. AHL-wise, Barrett was the best AHL player, so shout out to him. Obviously, he's an NHLer, but he was playing in the AHL this year. Maybe we should have called him up at some point for the NHL playoffs, but it is what it is. All right. Well, we knew the Flyers were going to win a Stanley Cup. We projected it as even before we played them in the series. We said whoever was going to win that series was going to go on a run, and we were right. So kind of crazy on that. But anyways, let's find out who ends up retiring the season. Also take a look at the draft class, the contracts, and all the stuff we have to deal with. But hopefully we come back better next year. Chicago has won the draft lottery, followed by New Jersey, Florida, Pittsburgh, and Ottawa. So there's your top 5 of the draft. Let's see who ends up retiring. We're not going to have probably any retirements from our team, but maybe some former players will. Best forward to retire this year, Lucas Raymond, in case you were wondering about that. Any of guys that used to play with our team? Lyndon Lakovic retired as a Stanley Cup champion in Philadelphia. So shout out to him. Is there anybody that I remember drafting? Ladine wasn't ours, but I remember his name, I think. Oh, Nichols retired. Emmanuel Nichols is retired at 32 years old. Could have kept him for the AHL team, to be honest, but I didn't. 66 points, 342 games. A solid career, unfortunately for him. Not necessarily a crazy one, but I don't think he had much potential when we picked him. I think he might have been a low 6, so shout out to him, though, anyways. There's also Quentin Cochran, who only played 1 season. We had 2 Quentin Cochranes at one point, if you guys remember right. He only played 1 season in the NHL, 1 season in the AHL, and then we let him go. Never got to play an NHL playoff game for us, but former 7th rounder. Had actually some decent offensive awareness, but I don't know how you would have done at the NHL level fully if he got more playing time. From a defensive standpoint, best defenseman retired. Lane Hudson has finally retired. That's good because at least that means maybe a higher chance for Norris's for obviously guys like Paco, Perek up there too, which is another good defenseman. Same as Sanderson and Zeev Boyum. So some good defensemen retiring this season. Anybody that used to play with us? Oh, I remember Alphonse Friege from a different team. I think we played them in the playoffs at one point. Oops, there's one. If you guys remember good old Jakub Seidel, he is retired as well. Played only one season with us in the NHL. Played a long time in the AHL, but he was one of the first year guys we had, I think. No playoffs, of course, but shout out to the Seidel. Who's Powell? I don't remember you. Islanders first round pick. Retired at 35 in 4 career games for a guy that won first round. Wow. That's interesting. Those were over the last few years, kind of ish. Huh, that's one of the bigger busts I've seen in the first round. From a goaltending standpoint, Nicholas Koko is the best goalie to retire. Oh, Cody Lysak, the Polish goaltender, I think he was. Yeah, he was a Polish goalie. Yeah, he was another goalie we had early in the series. He played 320 games with us. I think he was technically our first starting goaltender, pretty much. You can see back with his wins and losses. Eventually, at one point, he posted a 900 save percentage, but yeah, he eventually got replaced by a lot of other guys. He was before Forster and all that, so kind of an iconic goalie in the series in that sense. Best of luck to him in retirement. Kind of funny seeing him have a 23, 224, and 8 record in his career, though. We got to maybe grab a screenshot of that because that's kind of hilarious. And then these guys never played for us, but shout out to Lysak. At least he had more wins than Radkov, but Radkov had a 922 through 18 games. Who was he with? Montreal. Oh, he's a real dude, I think. Yeah, he's a real dude. But damn, that's crazy. All right, so a couple former players retiring, but obviously nobody from our roster yet. In terms of coach retirements, we did not lose anybody in Burnaby, but we lost Andre Tourney, our head coach, and Connor Jennings as well. So we need a new head coach for next season. That's something that could change how we simulate maybe a bit. So new head coach, and I don't know if Jennings was a goalie coach or not, but we did lose a couple coaches in the NHL, which means some offseason stuff is going to be important for us. We're going to bypass draft interviews, and we're going to go take a look at our progress reports first and foremost. So let's see what we got here. So in terms of centers, I mean, Rogers in 83, but he's technically still a second line forward, which is insane. In general, our forward group is probably going to be pretty similar to last year, but we're going to have to find ways to get more guys playing time, which is going to be kind of tough. Looks like Clean is on a drop off a little bit, but his potential hasn't dropped yet. Hromis, kind of staying like the same. And then McElhaney kind of staying the same-ish too. Nakamura, all right. Defensively, Paco is still a 93. Lee's still a 93. Pau is listed as a top 2 defenseman now. God damn, man. Pollock is obviously a top 4 still. Richardson. Like, we're still going to be a strong team from a defensive standpoint. But, yeah, Ullman is listed as a top 4. Maltby's a top 4. So we probably will play Foligno full-time next season as a top 6 defenseman because we'll have these guys kind of complaining. I might let go of both Ullman and Maltby. I think Ullman might be signed for an extra year. If he is, he could play in the AHL like Maltby was this year. From a goaltending standpoint, both goalies staying the same. We're probably going to have to let go of Tambellini because we do have to call up Koch or Hextall as the backup next season. You guys can let me know on that. And then obviously we have some more AHL goalies that are still developing. Also in the system defensively, Krejci's close to being an actual defender. Same with Foligno. So we could also play Krejci next year if we want. So that might not be a bad option. Noel didn't grow at all, but he's still a 75, which is useful. Still a depth defenseman. Burroughs is listed as a depth defenseman as a 75 as well. Kind of surprised some of these guys are actually depth defenders. Gormley didn't grow a lot, which is kind of disappointing because I expected maybe a bit more growth from him. But he did have a good AHL season, all things considered. So maybe he'll be a little bit of a late bloomer if he keeps growing. Medium elite defenseman Cohen's up to a 62. That's kind of a little bit low for a 20-year-old. Appleby's still listed as a depth forward, so maybe we'll still hold on to him as a depth option. Malhotra is still a ways away from making it, I think. Maybe 1 to 2 years. Aside from that, Mahalik, kind of still more of a depth option. And that's basically that. Yeah, we're kind of running a little bit dry in prospects in terms of guys that could end up making it. We are going to probably have to change up our bottom 6 a lot again next season, potentially just to help out with playing time. Speaking of letting go of people, here is our contracts that we have to dish out this offseason. We're not going to have a lot of cap space because we re-signed Lee, but Kuda and Berkowitz both RFAs, so we can deal with that. We're going to be letting go of Maltby and Barrett likely because they're both in the AHL last season. All of our other RFAs we could probably qualify or get them from cheap, so should be pretty easy on those guys. But Fernandez being a UFA, I think he might be gone because he's trying to get 9.7, which is definitely too much for what he brings. And the lowest I think we could maybe get him to would be something like maybe 8.625, something like that, which I don't think that's worth it, to be honest. That's almost as much cap space as we probably have left. So I think Fernandez is gone, Maltby's gone, Barrett's gone. All of our RFAs, like I said, we could qualify and get them for less. Tambellini's gone because he's a UFA. Koch will probably be our backup next season, or Hextall. And then we'll probably be signing Bela and Blue just for the AHL. Bela for sure, though. So there's all that. All right. Last thing we got to take a look at is this upcoming draft class. Is there any solid prospects for us in this class that we could pick from? Let's start by forwards and go by each league. So hopefully there's some options for us this year. We did pin a lot of people, so Byers a low 6. Not a first round talent, but still looks like there's going to be some options to us in some later rounds, which is okay, I guess. So we will keep these guys all pinned that are supposed to get drafted around, I guess. From a Swiss standpoint, Belak's probably a good option. Right winger, medium top 6, two-way forward, listed as a gem. Probably a 65 or so, but he's supposed to go like second round. So I think Belak is definitely one of the top options right now. There's also Parrott, but he's only a medium 9. And we'll pin Bold too, because he's actually supposed to get drafted, I think. Mara's not supposed to, so we won't pin him. Czech Republic. Palazza medium 9, Rakos is medium 9, Martinek medium 9, and then there's also Hemsky's a low bottom 6. Nothing crazy in Czechia. Austria has that medium league guy that's supposed to go first round. Oh my goodness. It would be nice to have a guy like that join this team, but we'd have to tank basically to get a guy like that, unfortunately. So we won't be able to get him. From Sweden, there's a couple Polish guys. There's Cashman, but he's not going that early. Same goes with Kilger. We'll pin Peterson. There's also Markort, but he's probably not getting drafted. What about Finland? This is just forwards, too, that we're looking at, so there's probably going to be some defensive options. I almost forgot about it again for some reason, and goalies. But there is Glass, who's supposed to go early first round, so I don't think we're going to be able to get him, unfortunately. Capaduca could be a low elite, but it's tough to say right now at this point. Kuzi knows a low 6. Okay, so it looks like there's going to be a bit more options on the forward side of things from Finland rather than the other leagues. And lastly, we also got to check defenders and also goalies again too. So defenders from Germany, there's not really anything. There's a couple medium 7ths, but I mean, it's still depth, I guess. Switzerland, nobody's supposed to get drafted out of the defenders. Damn, that's crazy. There's even an Italian defenseman. Abraham Toms. Czechia, medium 6, low 7th. Not great. Austria, nothing crazy. Sweden, there is Bomeister, who's supposed to go late first round. Looks like he's going to be only a medium 7, so he's probably only a medium top 60, but he could be a high overall at least. He's still okay, but he's nothing crazy right now. Gardner's not supposed to get drafted, and then we head to Finland again. Finland seems to where it's at, though, for prospects that we could actually pick, but there's not good options there either. Winnick's a low 7th, a couple medium 6s or low 6s. Yeah, this draft class honestly might be one of the worst. I didn't want to pin Niemi because we can't even take him. But yeah, this is not a good class. Not a good class. And last, we got to take a look at the goaltenders too, just for fun, because we always like drafting goalies even when we have a lot of them. Let's see. A French goaltender. Not looking good. Switzerland does have a medium starter in Tyrone Boyer. Looks like he's going to be 4 years out at the age of 20. He's probably going to be decent, but we won't need him that much. Michelli, Austria's got nothing. Sweden's got a Polish goaltender by the name of Weinrich. He's probably a French starter. And Finland has nobody we can actually pick. So in general, this draft class is probably going to be one of the worst ones we've seen. because the best player we could take would have been Bakos if we had an early pick in this year's draft. But since we don't have an early pick, the best player we could take, technically based on projection, is Glass. But I would probably think our first round talent's either got to be Bouwmeester on defense, or it's got to be Belak since he's listed as a gem. It's probably Belak, let's be honest on that. So probably we'll be adding another forward to our prospect pool, but I don't know if we're going to get to see much of him in his career before the series ends. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Europe United Draft to Glory franchise mode. So a disappointing way to end the season. I thought with us falling back during the regular season that we would have maybe had some better success in the playoffs. But of course, like I said, we ran into one of the hottest teams in Philadelphia, who despite having a really low record during the season, we knew they were going to be a good playoff team as well. And they went on a tear and won that Stanley Cup. So let me see that below, and I'll see you guys next time.